Well, hello you guys. Welcome back to another trade recap video. This video is going to cover the trade I took on Tuesday, May 12th and Wednesday, May 13th. So this is May 12th. It is market open. Price had been in a downtrend overnight, but it gave an indication that it might want to start going up. If you can see right above the green rectangle that I marked out, you see a push up, and right before that you can see a small little crest of the downtrend that was happening overnight. So since it pushed above that, that is what's called a minor break of structure, and so it's an indication that it might be going up now that the downtrend is done, and it might start doing an uptrend. So I marked out a demand zone, and with the demand zone you use the previous red candle, and so that's what I have marked up there. Here, market open, it opened up there in that little group that it had made, but it came back down and tapped the zone. This is, I believe, a medium-sized zone, so with my rules, a medium-sized zone requires a semi-aggressive entry, meaning that I preferably would like to enter into the trade within the zone, but depending on the tap, if the tap is deep into the zone, then I would like to enter within the zone and then put my stop loss where it would usually be at, right outside at the bottom of the zone. But if the tap is not deep, then I will put my stop loss at the midpoint of the zone just to minimize risk. And so that's what I'm looking at here is market open candle. It just barely tapped it, so I'm just waiting to see, will it go deeper in? Will the next candle take off? Will the next candle also give me a tap at the top of the zone? So I'm just waiting and watching, trying not to rush into it. It is hard to not just jump in. So here I'm seeing it looks like I'll be able to use the midpoint of the zone as my stop loss. And I'm just hoping that it doesn't take off. And if it takes off, that's alright. It happens. It sucks watching it just go. But I have seen where it comes back. So and as the trade progresses, I'll speed through it so it's not too long. So at this point, it would have been a perfect time to get in, looking back at it, but it's hard to tell if the candle is going to go deeper. So I was just waiting. I just knew that I would be upset if for not waiting a couple seconds longer to see if the tap was going to go deeper. And so here I'm kind of realizing, yeah, no, it might not come all the way back down to the zone again. So I'm trying to figure out with my loss limit that I set for myself. I'm only trying to risk about 150 for a trade, and so I'm just trying to see, like, okay, well, if I take out a contract instead of 4 and only use 3, where then can I enter? And so it got me. Yeah, that's a little more above the zone than I would like to be, but that's alright. It really didn't seem like it was going to go that much deeper into the zone, so I felt comfortable with having my stop loss at the midpoint. And yeah, it quite quickly turns around and goes on up. And so yeah, I was only really in this trade for like less than 3 minutes. and I get my 1 to 2 basically, or actually a little slightly more. So yeah, this was a very quick trade. Market open setups have so far this month really been giving, and so the next trade I go over will be a recording of me, like a live recording. It's going to be longer. I'm going to skip through a lot of parts just to show before, during, and after a trade of how I am. So okay, hi. I'm currently waiting on this minor break of structure to happen, where it was selling off. It had been selling off on the 5-minute time frame since it hit this resistance. Let me put an alert right here so I can just see when it happened. Alert. Okay. So on the higher time frames, there is this resistance here that price came to, sold off, it tapped it again, sold off. But I did notice these 1 hour demand zones that are here. It's kind of a combination of three. You see these 3 red candles. This was the single deepest 1 hour demand zone. Price tapped into it, and that looks beautiful. So, I was almost going to go for sells just because it has been doing that since 3 a.m. But I had a feeling that if price came down to those 1 hour zones, that it was going to react off of that. And it looks like that's exactly what it's doing. Going with a sell, going with it, with a sell would have been a counter trend. And I don't know what to do with my hair. Sorry. I don't really want to do that, or like, I'm not comfortable taking a counter trend sell just yet. Like, I don't think it's done with the buys. It just had its leg down. Oh my gosh, I look horrible. Okay, give me a second, please. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Put my little hat on. Still look very off, but I always do. Look at this. Jeez. Oh, my face. Anyways, this is why I don't want to trade live so much. Okay, ignoring me, this is now the demand zone that I'm looking at. I'm going to go ahead and delete these huge ones since we know price is already tapped into them and it's currently reacting to them. So now, this is the 5-minute demand zone that I now want to that I want to get into if price can come back to it. I think I accidentally shifted this a bit. Nope, that's going to bother me. Okay. Alright, so this is the minor break of structure, this little line there that I put. That's what I was waiting for. And so now I just need price to come back and tap me in. Let's see how big this zone is. And if it doesn't come back to here, then I'm going to wait for a new red candle to form. And then, because of my rules, or because this is actually a part of Camillea's rules, the girl that I follow, once the red candle shows up, then a candle after that has to be green and break that high of the red candle. Then that will let me know that yes, it's still trying to go up. And then I'll mark that red candle as the new zone. So yeah, but preferably I want it to come back to this one. I don't mind it going up and making a couple more green candles, so that way it can then start trickling down to this zone. I actually really prefer that when it does more of a stair-step look, when the zone has been created, you know where it's at, price comes up out of it, and then it starts coming back down. So that way when it taps your zone, when it comes back down, you know where to target for that next leg up. That's what I prefer to see. I love seeing that. There are zones that show up and price taps it with the next candle and then it just shoots up. Those work a lot, but it's not as pretty to me, not as aesthetic. I like the stair step look. So if this candle right now can close green, I'm so sorry. I realize that the mic is down here. It may not have sounded so clear. But anyways, if this candle can close green, maybe another candle can close green. I don't mind waiting. I can wait. I got time. And then it can slowly start coming back down to this zone. But we will see. Depending on how long this takes, I may speed up this clip. So yeah, we shall wait. But I do like to trade live like this. I know I'm not like live broadcasting to anyone right now. I just mean in the sense that you can see me before, during, and after a trade, so you can see how good or bad I manage my emotions. But really, it also helps me set an example to others. I'm not perfect, and I'm still a beginner. So, you may catch me, get frustrated, get scared, but I think it's good for other people to see that it's really hard to be a robot. If I could be a robot trading, I would, because then you don't gotta worry. You're not gonna let fear intervene. Fear can keep you from entering a trade, and then you see it works and it's going on without you. That really sucks. Fear can take you out of a trade too early, either before it takes off um, or while it has taken off, but you get out early and you leave money on the table. Um, I've been in plenty of those situations. Fear can keep you. Oh wait, no, I said that already. Can keep you from entering. Can keep you from staying in. It's complex. Greed. I thankfully have not really let greed touch me too much. Oh wait, did I even see how big the zone was? Okay, it's 49.75 points, or it's probably 49 points, but I like to have my stop a little bit outside of it, and so that's good there. Okay, so for a 49 point zone, I just started blabbing. This would be a 1-to-1 right there. For a 49 point zone, I consider this a medium sized zone according to my standards and my rules. So I have this little thing here that I pretty much have it memorized, but anytime I just need reassurance, I wrote down the steps. You probably can't read that because it's backwards, but these are the steps of Camellia, her rules. So number one of her step is to identify the trend. Once you know which way it's going, then you wait for a new break of structure. For me specifically, or in this situation, I waited for a minor break of structure to let me know it might be going the other way. Nothing is for sure. This is just what I've seen before, and it's something that can happen. At some point, in a uptrend or a downtrend, it's going to change direction, and you start to recognize what that can look like. And so this is that. It just did a minor break of structure. I think it's gotten to a point where it wants to change directions instead of going down. I think it wants to start going up now. So I'm basically just trying to get in the first setup of this possibly new uptrend. And so yeah, that's what's happening here. And so the third step is to mark up the most recent zone. That's what I've already done. That's that green rectangle there. And now the fourth step that she has is she chooses a aggressive, conservative, or break of candle entry. They all are different ways of entering into the trade. I have basically chosen which way to enter depending on the size of the zone. So for small zones, for me, I consider a small zone to be 30 points or less. For a small zone, I have noticed that price taps into it and takes off, so it requires an aggressive entry. And it kind of just makes sense that if it's a small zone, the risk to reward, it's worth it to find out. So any zone that shows up that's 30 points or less, I have a limit order in place at the top of the zone if it's a demand zone, and I'm ready for it to just tag me in, because I have seen a lot of times where price just taps in real quick and shoots off, and you don't have the chance to enter manually if you didn't have a limit order placed. Medium zones, for me, I consider 31 to 60 points as medium size zones. For those, I enter semi aggressively. Now, this is not one of the things that she said, but I would explain semi aggressive as entering while price is within the zone. So while it's tapped it's in there, I would rather get in there so that way, this is the one that's a little because depending on if the tap looks like it's going to be just barely in there, then I'll set my stop loss at the midpoint of a zone. This would be an example of a medium sized zone. So let's say, hold on, sorry, 1 second. You see how it's kind of stuck here? Price is kind of stuck here. It's kind of just a little bit. It's kind of just going sideways right here. From my experience, from what I've seen before, it's probably not going to come back down to this zone. It's probably just resting here, and then it's going to do a shoot up. It's my guess. So let's see if that happens. It's making a new gas station. They found a new gas station. So that's my prediction. Let's see. Let's try and make this a little fun.
I just realized I never put on my mascara. Something must have distracted me from my makeup. I'm gonna put mascara on, so you're gonna watch me do this shit. Sorry, Mom. I don't want to take my hat. My hair is ugly
right now. Okay, so price broke those highs that were happening right here. So now this is a new activated zone, and it's a big one. Yikes. Okay, this is probably, you can just tell, it's a large zone. Oh, that's where I left off. Okay, small zone, aggressive. Medium zone, semi-aggressive. I want to enter when price is kind of within the zone to minimize risk. With large zones, I consider to be 61 points or more. This is definitely a large zone. So, for large zones, I want to wait for a conservative entry, and this is one of the entries that Camellia uses. A conservative entry is when you wait for price to tap your zone, but then you need a candle to close basically in the color that you want it to go. If you're in a demand zone and you're hoping for it to go up, you want a green candle close. If you're using supply zones because it's selling, you want a red candle close. Either with the candle that taps the zone, although that could mean, depending on where, that could mean you're too far away from the zone. But it can either be the candle that taps the zone, or it can be the next candle. So now I'm hoping that this one plays out because I want to show a large zone and what I would wait for. And this one, with large zones, it's a serious test of your patience. Can you wait for, in this case, can I wait for a candle to tap the zone, preferably the next candle to open and then close green? So that's like waiting at least 5 minutes of while price is in the zone or outside of the zone. So let's see how this one plays out. Hopefully I'm able to get in. Oh, look, it just said, when it says that MSS, this is an indicator, or indicator? Yeah, I guess so. One of the indicators that I use, I don't know if it's one of these. This one here. MFT, break of structure, and market structure shift. See how over here it says BOS 5 minutes? That's part of the indicator that I added. So even it recognized, yeah, it's changing directions. But the indicator required it to take out this lower high of the downtrend for it to consider it now going up and changing direction. So that's cool. So yeah, if you could just close green with that candle, maybe the next one, but then come down and get me. Come down and get me. I want to show how to do a large zone. Oh, it's not that big. Still a large zone, but I thought it was like 100 points or something. 69.70 points of a zone. Really, I could put this a bit. Whatever. That's fine. 69.50. Come on down. Come get me. Okay. Again, just wait. So I'm gonna mute myself again, so maybe I could speed this up in the video when I'm editing.
is annoying. And I'd rather just click something to mute myself than to be picking this up and having to hold it. Let me use my hands. I'm an animated talker. Not really, I'm barely a talker. I think I might go make coffee. In this case, I will set an alert. Ooh, I need to get my watch. Put it on my wrist. Yeah, because I want to know before, when it gets close to tapping the zone. But because it's a large zone, it's not like I'm going to be able to enter anyway. I still got to wait for a candle to close green. So, let this show you how you don't, with time and experience, you don't need to be like on it, you know? You got to practice stepping away. You can go make coffee, make a tea, go get something, come back. It'll be alright. It's not life or death. Okay, so since price has now made a new high, it took out the high of this candle, there is now a new zone that we can look at. Can you guess where it's at? Or which candle? So it is this last, or most recent, depending on how you want to word that, red candle is now the new zone. I really wanted to use the large zone. So let's see how big this zone is. And 38 points. That's a medium zone. 38.25. Where's the 1-to-1? Ooh, something else that happens that I love is that, okay, so I mark out the 1-to-1 of the size of the zone. That's usually my target, but it does change. I do prefer to get twice as much as I go in with, so that's a 1-to-2. But because I know my entry point may or may not be right here at the top of the zone, it might be here, it might be here. I adjust. I really hope I can show a trade. Like, I want to explain it, like, as it's happening. But, basically, since it's done this push up, and if it can come back down and tap into this zone, price is likely going to make a new high. So, however high this goes, there's a good chance that if price comes back, taps this zone, it will surpass this high. Wherever it stops and starts turning around, there's a good chance it'll surpass it. So, it can be a little bit easier to see, like, that would be almost a 1-to-2 if it could reach there. Like, if that's as high as it goes and it starts turning around and taps in, I'm definitely aiming there. I want to get as much as I can. With market open setups, those are scary. I don't usually get in on those. I only have been recently because I have seen how recently they have been working. They've been eating. And so I'm just like, yeah, I'm just going to get it. I get in on those. But I get out quick because market open is so volatile. It's so reactive. I've seen it shoot in a direction, but then the next candle, it completely turns around. And so I just get what I can for any market open setups that I get in on. They scare me, okay? And if they don't scare you, you're wild. I respect that. So, yeah, let's see. Okay, for a medium-sized zone, I want to enter within the zone. So, once it taps, let's see how deep into the zone it goes. And then we'll enter accordingly. Full zone is 230. If I entered right there at the top of the zone, the whole zone with 2 contracts would be risking $153, which is perfect. But I don't want to switch up my plan. This is still a medium-sized zone. I still want to minimize risk, so I want to see price. I want to enter within the zone. I want to minimize risk, so let's see how far I can go in. Oh, I gotta pee. 2 minutes, 20 seconds left on this candle. Hoping it can go deeper. If it doesn't and a new candle starts, I could still enter, and I could put my stop loss either at the midpoint or at the bottom of that tap there, but that would be kind of risky. I could accidentally get myself out early and lose money, you know. It could still, the next candle could still open up here, tap in a little bit deeper, and then take off. So I don't want to get in and enter my stop loss right there because the next one could get me out, and you know, that would really suck. So, patience. Oh my gosh, I hate having pee right when I...
If I were to put stop loss at midpoint and then enter somewhere here, what would that be? Ooh, nice. 148, a little bit higher, 165. I could do that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. If it can just get there.
Nice, we're in. I put my stop loss at the midpoint of the zone. Please do not go more than half. Target, I might move, sorry, if that was loud. I might move target a little bit lower, just depending. What did I risk? 165. Okay, well at least we're in a trade, you can see. I know I didn't enter within the zone, but since this first candle reacted that way, it tapped it and closed way up here. It kind of gave me a sign that this next candle may not go as deep into the zone. This I kind of expected, so I probably could have entered somewhere here, or here, you know. It is what it is. But by putting my stop loss here, I'm not using the whole zone. I have my risk at exactly where I want. I'm comfortable with it. I won't get up to pee until it turns around. Sometimes I get up and leave while I'm in a trade because it just makes me nervous to watch.
God dang it. Sigh. Oh well. I probably could have entered in the zone and kept my stop loss, but I just didn't think, with the way this candle reacted to it, I didn't think it was going to come this far into the zone. I need to screenshot that. Oh.
Man, if you just get me out and turn around, ooh, that pisses me off. Don't do that. Now that it's got me out, I'm just like, you better invalidate the zone. You better not work. Let's watch. Man, ain't no way. 174, oof. So that's called slippage. Whenever it's a little bit more than you expected. I don't know if you saw how quickly the candle moved through my stop loss. So basically, it's an order that's in place, your stop loss. If price shoots right through it, it takes a bit for the order to go through. So if it moves too fast, it might not actually close your positions until 2 seconds after it went through your stop loss. And yeah, that's called slippage. I love when it works in your favor, because sometimes price goes through your take profit and you actually win more than you were thinking. Dang it! It might start turning around.
I really don't fault myself, because the way this candle reacted, I really thought it tapped it and closed way up here. I really thought this candle was going to get close again, or maybe not even, and then just start going up. So I didn't think it was going to go that deep into the zone. It really did just get me out, go a little bit more, and turn around. That's the name of the game. That's alright. I have been on a win streak, on like a 5-day win streak, Not like in a row because I haven't traded five days in a row, but I won. What's it? I won Tuesday. I won Monday. I won last week on Thursday, and then I think last Wednesday. Oh, that's 4 days. I don't know. I can't remember. But I've been on a win streak, and so that's okay. I don't mind taking an L. That really sucks. It really just got me out. Just to turn around. Okay, well, this is a good example. I don't mind showing losses. I ain't got no problem with that. You pay your taxes. What was I gonna do? I was gonna say something. Okay, then yeah, this video is gonna be, I don't know how long this video will be, but I'm gonna try to cut as many parts as I can, skip through to try to make it short, and yeah. But one trade a day, we're done for the day. Time to do whatever and try again Friday. All right. Cheerio.